stop yourself holding back your pump check photos. Hi, I'm Will. I'm a photographer, and here's some of my work. Cheeky plug, go check my website. And you are taking your pump pics wrong. So these are some of the most iconic photos in bodybuilding history. And here are what TikTok pump check looks like. Do you notice a difference? The answer is lighting. Yeah, Jay Cutler and Ronnie Coleman will always look like they can eat you, whatever the lighting, but to look their best, they need the best lighting. What do you think of when it comes to lighting for a pump check or just a bodybuilding photo? Often the answer is a small light, often on the ceiling, that shines down on you. This is called a top-down light. This type of down lighting gives a high contrast, very sharp look. Here are some pics that you might recognize from some of my earlier videos where I'm using exactly this type of lighting. You can see that the lighting is providing high contrast and great definition to the edges of my muscles. But let's go back to some of those photos we saw in the intro. When I think of the greatest bodybuilding moments of all time, I think of King Ronnie and I think of the quad stomp. Do you notice anything different about these photos compared to the TikTok style photos that we were looking at earlier? You'll notice that you don't see that super high contrast down lighting effect. Whereas before we had a well-defined outline, we now have a better, fuller looking shape. The outline has been filled in. And this, unsurprisingly, is called fill lighting. So what does this mean for you? Well, the simplest way to explain is in reference to studio lighting. I know that most people don't have studio lighting and don't have a lot of great lighting control options, so we'll come back to this and be able to give you a more general approach to it later. To be clear, you don't need studio lighting, it's just these studio lighting terms and concepts will make it easy for you to apply good lighting wherever you might need it. The key light is the first light that you want to set up. It's normally the brightest light and the harshest light. So something like down lighting could actually be a really good option here. When I do this at home, I use a tall tripod and just a beauty dish with the raw bulb exposed, and I find that this gives me the desired effect. And setting your source up high for this key light will give a lot of that sharpness to the edges that we were talking about earlier, which is something you definitely want to look your biggest. And second, we care about a fill light. A softbox or another form of light diffuser is a great option here. It'll fill in any areas that might be left in complete shadow from the key light, but crucially it won't take away from the bite of the key light. I found that placing these slightly lower and angling them up tends to work quite well for my physique, but it may differ for you. But Will, you say, I don't have studio lighting, and it's really expensive to get it, and I don't really want it around my house. And I think most people would be in the same boat as you. But that doesn't mean that we can't apply the principles that we've spoken about in another way. You can achieve these fill light effects with only a single light source using one of these. This is a reflector, which is basically a big shiny disc that reflects light back towards the subject from another source. One like this has lots of different sides. I quite like it, it's quite big. But this is the side I use most often. It's the sort of soft white side, and it's perfect for this sort of fill lighting application. A reflector like this will bounce back and soften up any light coming in from a harsh primary source back onto your subject, and if you balance it against a wall on the floor, it'll provide you with the sort of ideal angle really for this light to be coming from. And the best thing, these are actually really quite cheap. I mean, this one was about 15 quid. I bought it a few years ago. I mean, it must have lasted me about 7 years, and I use it quite a lot for my photography, so it's quite a good investment if you're at all interested in portrait photography, and definitely if you're looking for better lighting for your pump checks. Yeah, so that's it. That's how you can look bigger and stop yourself holding back your pump check photos. Yeah, that's it. See you next time. Bye.